Hey everybody, Inorganic Pixel here, and real quick, we got a big update for Deadlock, and I just want to say to Valve, screw you, man. I had a whole video ready to go about some things I wanted to talk about with Deadlock and things I had a whole different video idea made, and then they made this huge update, so I have to can the original video. I had all this footage, audio recorded, scripting done, but I'll go over some minor details real quick. Number one, a lot of hero changes to now how your abilities might work as your character. Calico got some changes. Viper did. I'm not going to go through all of those. Definitely look into the patch notes specifically on that. A few other small little tweaks. So the Soul Orbs mechanic is going to work a little bit differently now. It is now no longer based on last hit. So the near death flashing behavior has been gone completely. I guess now souls will just pop out, whenever the minions die and whatnot. So gaining souls from kills now shows a visual effect as well for the souls flying towards you. And there's also been a few changes as far as the Skinner sacrifice piece. Sprinting has had some small changes. So, nothing too crazy in this update. Oh, except for one thing. The map's totally different now. The map has been overhauled dramatically. I cannot emphasize how much of an overhaul this is. So, no longer are there 4 lanes. There is now 3 lane, meaning now that you will no longer solo lane anymore. Valve has removed that essentially from the map itself, so you will always have a duo laning with you, and there are now 3 lanes. The rest of this video is just going to be kind of showcasing the map specifically, and I want to take the rest of the time to kind of talk about the map and the experiences I've had with it so far. I'll start with the positives real quick. Number one, I think the map looks beautiful. It's unbelievable how Valve has really gone out of their way to make this feel more and more like New York City every time. And this one specifically hits it out of the park. I've been to New York City once in my life, but now you really get that oppressive feeling of like massive skyscrapers and massive buildings just towering over you at all times with this new map. The older one kind of felt like you were like in New York City limbo. This one really feels like you are deep in the heart of pick a neighborhood, I don't know. There are some different lanes now. Park remains the same, but they've added the Brooklyn Bridge to the yellow lane, and Middle has been completely overhauled. On top of that, the boss fight room has also been overhauled. Where you teleport to has been overhauled. Where camps are has been overhauled entirely. The game is, frankly, this is a very, very big change. And honestly, I think that kind of speaks to how early we might be in development for Deadlock specifically. This is such a huge change that it kind of it brings up a few questions. Number one, how far are we into development of this game? Is this were we years out from this fully being released, ready to go, based on the fact that we're overhauling the map like this? Number two really is, I guess, understanding why the decision was made to remove the 4 lane. My guess is that Valve maybe looked into it internally and found that the majority of players didn't really like solo laning, or it might have felt fights feel a bit more unfair than normal. Solo laning, depending on the character you're playing as and who you go up against, can make a world of difference. My guess also with the changes to this map is that it's actually in a way nerfed some characters. For example, like Lash. I don't think there's a lot of opportunities now to get a boost in the air to make a very powerful slam really early on anymore. And it's also removed that middle part so no more Lash camping at the very top of the middle of the map and then slamming you down at the end. One last thing too, and this is what you're seeing within the footage, is now there's a sandbox essentially where you're allowed to go around the entire map and explore for yourself at your own pace. It works fairly similar to the Hero Sandbox. I really tried to switch my character to Ivy so I could fly around a little bit, but I was stuck as Infernus here. No big deal. So a lot of changes essentially. This is now ostensibly going to really revamp the way you might play Deadlock. I'm now going to talk about some of the criticism I have this map, and for real quick, I have not played a match yet, so this is entirely my interpretation based on me just walking around for 30 minutes and kind of seeing the map for myself. So number one, the middle is very confusing. It's almost Kafka-esque in terms of how the flow and ebb of certain where teleporters are located, where the item shop might be. Getting out of middle and then going into jungle is now a little confusing. It might be a little daunting. and it doesn't visually look too appealing at times. There are moments where it's just a very sharp corner, you go right into a stairwell, into a bottomless pit almost, and I don't know. I think the middle part might need to be reworked or smoothened out a little bit more. Mid is now just a big arena, so if you were in the middle lane, it is now just a big mosh pit. And green and yellow lane primarily stayed the same. Well, I shouldn't say green. It was at one point purple, which now no longer exists. But middle now is this big cluster. It's just this massive space to get involved with. And the boss room on top of that feels a lot more claustrophobic than it did. One thing I'll say, too, is that the positions of the camps, I guess, frankly, this second one might be more just because I'm used to the 4 lane a lot. The position of the camps is really clustered now. It's a lot. It felt as if in 4 lane that the position of the camps were not exactly equal, but it now feels completely equal. So that can become a little confusing, and it makes it so that like certain areas of the map have a lot more camping or have a lot more camps to mine from than other parts do. Again, so far, I have not actually played a full match in this yet. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. But as far as like complaints around the map, that's really all I have. I really have to play it to get a sense of how things might work. The bridge buffs are now no longer on a simple the access bridge. You now have to really commit to that and go up a ladder or go up a rope, essentially, to get up to those bridge buffs. And visually, seeing from one side of the map to the other is a lot harder now. They've really made it so that if you're in a lane, you are only focused on that lane. You can't really peer from one lane to the next. You're now entirely locked into visually where you are in the map. I guess in closing, this is going to be a huge change to Deadlock, and frankly, I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what happens. I really did like the 4 lane aspect of it. I like solo laning personally, and I wonder how if that's going to really change the dynamic of how people feel about this game. Regardless, I'm excited to get into it. Maybe a few matches in, I might realize that there might be some positive changes involved with this. It might make certain heroes a bit more viable in certain instances. It also might make boss fights, or the middle part, a bit less of a worrisome problem. Where, typically I found in the 4 lane where my big concern with that was essentially that if the other team is running certain heroes, it makes it a little more difficult and challenging for you to commit to a boss. I imagine now with the boss being moved underground, it makes it harder for heroes like Abrams or Lash to pull a gotcha moment on you with their ults and whatnot. But that remains to be seen yet. It'll be a interesting process in terms of how this tests out. And I'd love to know what Valve is thinking, I guess. I guess we won't really know that in the near future, but this is going to be a very interesting era of Deadlock. I really wonder if, this is me putting my tinfoil hat on right now, I wonder if Valve is actually testing this map out for other reasons, other alternatives. Maybe they're testing parts of this map out to accommodate different game modes, or they want to see how the ebbs and flow of this map might work with, different types of competitive. Who knows? There's a small part of me that's going to miss 4 lane, but at the same time, there's a big part of me that's excited for what's to come with this, especially with how this looks. I mean, this is, I cannot get over it enough. The skybox looks really incredible. I love now the feeling of being deeper into the heart of New York City that I was with the 4 lane map. I mean, this game was always very visually pleasing. I think it's gone from visually pleasing to stunning. It's very, very cool to look at now, as opposed to what it was the past. It's crazy how an entirely new, fresh coat of paint has been applied to Deadlock. I will kind of revise some of the stuff from my video that I was gonna make. I am gonna share some information from my previous video I was gonna make where I wanted to complain about a few things with Deadlock, and I think they still kind of apply to this map. And I'll just keep it to 3 things that I think Deadlock needs to fix. Number 1, big number 1 here, we really needed the ability to customize the hero's crosshairs when we play. I think that certain crosshairs work better with others, and it sucks that I have to apply a bland crosshair to all of my heroes. Not only that, but the crosshair builder has a lot to be desired. I think, frankly, the best crosshair builder is that website. I think Valve needs to implement one, though, where you can customize the crosshair for each individual character you might be playing as. Personally, if I have a shotgun character, I like a crosshair that's a nice circle that lets me know that that's essentially the general area and range of where I should be shooting at. Number 2, I would like to see some more outlining around where I will be taking damage and also where damage applied to Guardians happens. It's really basically a vibe at this point as to when you will take damage from a Guardian or when you might take damage from a Walker and whatnot. Here's an idea. What if, like, you just drew a little chalk line, just like imagine if like a kid just chalked out essentially a big circle around. Nothing too crazy, but it would be nice to have somewhat of a visual around where a Guardian can be damaged and where I will actually then get engaged with a Guardian or a Walker. And number 3, and it seems that this issue came from 4-lane and is still in this one, this jump pad here on yellow and green. I really want this doorway widened a little bit. It feels really awkward using this jump pad. I know it's not a very common jump pad, but the fact that it's there, I like that it's there and it helps me get to other parts of the map quicker. But it's just awkwardly shaped because of the doorway here. You have to like hug the door frame really hard, and even then your character's really not fully on that jump pad. So those are the 3 things I'd like fixed with Deadlock at the moment, I guess. And I don't know, if you guys want to hear more about other things I want to complain about with Deadlock, let me know. I might have to revise my whole script though because of this update, but we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. Deadlock as of right now has actually been a game that I've loved playing, and it's also been a really big catalyst for me picking up YouTube and doing these little videos. So I appreciate you guys watching, liking, and subscribing, and leaving good feedback or even constructive feedback about my videos. I'm still learning here, and who knows? This map could be the prelude for things to come with Deadlock. Again, I'm really curious how far we are along in development with this game specifically. We are essentially beta testing or in the testing zone for a Valve game, which is exciting, but at the same time, interesting to see and kind of confusing how that plays out in the long run. All right, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.